What's up, all you cool cats and kittens? It's Carol Baskin here. Just kidding. I've been watching a lot of Tiger King, just like everyone else in America. Maybe you guys around the world are watching it too. What a disaster. But I am also here to say that I am finishing the Pseudo Eagle build and getting the battery situation done. So one of the big things that's holding me back from getting the Pseudo Eagle finished, well, is just my own inability to complete projects in a serial manner. But I thought I was going to be able to mount this battery inside, so I didn't have to route out this. But that turned out to be inaccurate. So I needed to research and find some battery compartments. First thing I did was I picked this up for a long time, and I was like ready to go, starting to route. You can see I made some marks here. The problem was that this is a really deep battery compartment, and if you see, it was a little too close to comfort to almost, if I routed it out to this appropriate depth, it would almost go through and potentially go through the top. We don't want that. We don't want that to happen. So, and also the terminals, I mean, it's okay. It's a neat design. But I picked this one up, which looks a lot more like the real Super Eagle, Pseudo Eagle, Super Eagle. Mine is the Pseudo Eagle. The real one's the Super Eagle. Anyway, you can tell that it's not as deep. I mean, we're talking millimeters difference, but it's enough to make me happier to not have to route so much. So it still goes through, but not as tall. I try to find a location that I could put this to, because one of the things, here's the cavity, I already sort of taped it off, but the real Super Eagle is mounted way over here. And the one big disadvantage that I have doing this after the fact is to get a drill at the right angle over here to go all the way across, because the drill's not going to sit flush. It's going to be really difficult to drill all the way across like that and reach that distance. The real Super Eagle, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with that. The real Super Eagle has the luxury of being CNC'd right from the factory, right from PRS, so they could build a channel right into the AutoCAD program. I don't have that luxury, so I had to move it over. Now it's just a little tiny shot away from where it basically, I need to drill just a little bit. I could probably take a Dremel and reach to where I need to for the battery compartment. Another difference between this one and that one is that this has a battery clip that will feed through, and I think that's where a lot of the height difference comes from, because the door, this mechanism is more of a swinging feature. So you put the battery in this door, and then once you close it, it compresses against that terminal. So it's like sort of a loose fit. I wasn't even sure how that would go over time with that spring-loaded design, but this makes me feel a lot better. This is actually a heavy-duty clip. I bought this off of Reverb for like $12, and it looks a lot like the real one that's on the Super Eagle. I don't recall seeing the little battery symbol on it, but it looks to be the exact same design. And my friend who owns the real Super Eagle says it's the same depth as the real one. So I'm pretty sure this is around the same design. So yeah, so I'm gonna, you can see my routing outline template. So actually, tip here is that before I started to tape down and everything, before I took off this pick guard, I taped it. So you can't really trust anything inside here to use as markers or anchor points to do a measurement, to say, okay, from this corner back to that corner back. But when you put this on here, I simply took my tape, my little green frog tape here, and once I remember, it was already screwed down, and then I ran the tape right along the edge of the pick guard, and I used that as a guide to basically be square with the pick guard and come down just that, the exact same width. So that way, in theory, visually, this should look square compared to this pick guard. So that's what I'm going for. That was sort of what I came up with. And now it's time to do the scary part and set up my router. Alright, we are outside and it's really windy, so I apologize in advance. So what I have here is it's a plunge router attachment, and there is a fixed base option, but I sort of needed the refinement that this one allows me to. And right now I have it locked at the depth. So what I did was I actually took this bit and I laid it here, and then I grabbed, here's the battery, and I just let it sit right on top with just a hair extra, okay? And that way, see how it's nice flat? That way I have my depth, and then I locked it down. So this DeWalt router has, I don't want to flip it over and then break the bit, but see that right there? That locks it down, that little lever, or lever if you're from across the pond. So I'm going to route out the body. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to straddle this with my legs. So I got boots on and shorts like a redneck. And then I'm going to, so that will make sure that this body doesn't go. I mean, ideally I would clamp this down, but I don't have big clamps like that. And I'm going to do for the outline here, it's going to be the one that's closest. Since that is a 1/4 inch bit, it's going to go down and it's going to leave a rounded edge. I'm going to clean that up by hand, either with a Dremel or with, I have some tools that can cut that wood. And it's kind of soft, so it shouldn't be too bad. But I did, get all the cavity all taped up, so it should be nice and clean afterwards. Yeah, let's hope for the best here. I think I'm the luckiest person in the world, because I don't even know if I'm going to show you guys what just happened, but by pure chance, okay, so I stuck in the router, and all of a sudden it caught something inside the guitar, and just the whole guitar shook, and that was not good. But again, somehow I got super lucky that it did not get outside of, the damage was not outside of my marks. So I think what I'm going to do now is I have some wood chisels. I'm just going to take a wood chisel to the rest of this and just work it the old-fashioned way. Alright, so let's check this out. Here is my wiring all done, at least for this Klon buffer. It doesn't utilize, obviously, a treble boost, but as far as a unity gain, it is great for that. Everything is wired up like a real Super Eagle, which is really cool. And I'm just putting this tape over it. Obviously, this isn't exactly where I want to land. This is more for research purposes, using the Klon buffer. For those who are interested in this project that won't be fabricating their own boards like this, they'll rather, for those who prefer or wouldn't find a use in the treble boost, depending on how I come out, how mine sounds, using the JCF Preamp. This right here is a strip board of Jerry Garcia's preamp. So I'm going to use, basically the approach again is, learn what this sounds like, build the Jerry Garcia, since that's pretty close to the JCF preamp, and then finally, from what I've learned here, because there's still some things that I'm not quite sure of on the JCF preamp, so I wanted to build this one first, since they're pretty close. So the way that this is wired, and you're going to see the green light come on, is that when you plug in the jack it turns on the preamp. I mean, it won't be on in the signal unless I flip it to on, but at least the circuit will be active. So now you see the battery on, indicated by that really bright LED. And oh, by the way, I'm going to change the resistor value. It has 4.7K resistor value, which is basically the brightest that this LED can go. And that's going to be more of a drain on the battery. It's not a big drain on the battery, but still a drain on the battery. So either I'm going to replace or clip the LED altogether, because that's not really that necessary, at least to me, because it's only internal, and you can see that's just going to sit underneath this cavity. Or I'll just up the resistance of that LED so it's not as bright. So here again, that's how it engages and disengages based on this wiring. So it's important for me to remember at the end of the night to unplug this, otherwise my battery will be dead by the morning. There's probably some way that it could be tricked. So if you're not going to use a treble boost, I could probably tap into this and turn on and off the battery. But I want to go full out Super Eagle, so this is my approach. Klon buffer installed, and I'm still going to pursue the Garcia Preamp buffer, Unity game buffer, and I'm also going to pursue the JCF. There's a little bit more work to do with the JCF to basically just confirm what I think is going on. Having the Klon buffer in here was a great start for me to at least get a feel for what the tone changes. So here's my wiring again, just putting it down here. I'll draw up, real nice diagrams later on. I hope you guys are enjoying these series of videos. More to come. And leave a comment below if you think Carol Baskin killed her husband.